So I put the PowerStop Z23 brakes on my Cadillac, and well, now I have this like ticking sound and a wobble sometimes, and it's really not great. Now I know, I keep saying this isn't a car channel, and it's not a car channel, but if I'm working on something and I think it could be helpful to somebody else, I'm gonna record it. So let's see if we can't fix this. Hold my strawberry yoo-hoo. My Cadillac ATS came with the Brembo brakes. Now these are a little different than your standard brakes. The pads actually come out through the top of the caliper instead of removing the caliper and then removing them from a carrier. This set is the PowerStop Z23. Prior to this, I had the Z26 installed and I didn't have this problem. Now I will admit, a shop installed those instead of me. When they installed them though, they threw away the OEM hardware, so these pins and these springs. I really wish they hadn't, because I started looking into trying to get those once I was having these problems with the Z23. And it's like $190 to get these 4 metal pins and these spring clips. Now they're a little different design though, but still, it's a ridiculous price. So I've done some searching around and actually found a set from Dorman. It was only like 15 bucks for that hardware. So I went ahead and got those ordered. And they look a lot more like the factory ones. So I'm going to take these out and put the Dorman ones in. But while I have these out, I'll go ahead and compare these to the Dorman ones. And I also do have one of these pins and the spring clips still from the Z26. So I want to see how those compare as well. And I'm going to send, any information I come across over to PowerStop to, help them with this. To get this hardware out, you got to pound these pins out by using a punch through this hole here. And it's not easy, I'll tell you. The last set from the Z26, actually one of them got bent in the process. And that's why I can't just put that hardware back on. Okay, here's the back of the caliper, and you can see right here, that's where the pin goes in. Now, that's seated all the way flush. That's as far as it'll go in with a hammer. I can use a punch to push it in further, and I have done that, but it seems to just continue to kind of work its way back out. So that's one reason I want to get the factory style in here. I'm going to go ahead and get these pins knocked out and pull these spring clips so that we can compare the hardware between the Z23, the Z26, and the Dorman that seems to be more like the factory ones. You need a pretty substantial punch to get this out, and so I got this big guy right here, but it's still going to stop part way in. So I've been using an Allen wrench, which you can see is getting a little bent up, to get it the rest of the way to where I can pull it out the back. Getting these things out, it's not terribly pretty. Just get your punch in there and then give it a good blow or two with the hammer. And you can see, that's as far as my punch is going to go. So I don't want to force that anymore and mess up the caliper, right? Alright, so there's that one. Let's get this one. Hopefully, since these pins were put in pretty recently, that's all it'll need to get it out. So I'm going to push down on the spring clip. There we go, and it pulls right out. I'll go ahead and get the bottom out here too. There you go. All right, let's take them inside and let's take a look at the different hardware. On the left here we have the Z26 hardware, and on the right the Z23. These spring clips look, near as I can tell, pretty much identical. So I don't think there's really any difference there. But if we look at the pins, now this might be kind of hard to get to show up here. There is a difference between them. So if I line the two of them up, you can see the shiny one, which is the Z23, actually seems to be a little bit longer than the Z26. Let's try to put that on something. So See, it's actually looks a little bit longer than the Z26, which you would think that would have been a good thing. So I don't know. But a key difference possibly is down here at the part that goes into the back of the caliper. You can see this like kind of expansion washer here on the Z23 is lower than it is on the Z26. So as I'm trying to pound this one in to get it to take contact in the front, possibly that piece in the back got a little too far in. I don't know. It's hard to tell. But I also don't know why PowerStop would use two different pins with the Z23 and the Z26 for the same car, because this doesn't seem like a performance-oriented component like the pads or the rotors that they might switch out. Now that we've looked at the parts from the Z23 and the Z26 from PowerStop, let's look at the Dorman hardware kit that I found, which honestly looks a heck of a lot more like the factory hardware. So with this one, you can see the pin actually has a recessed part in the middle. And even the Z23, which was a longer pin than the Z26, is quite a bit shorter than the Dorman one, which again, I think is more like the factory hardware. So we're going to see, once I put it in, if it takes care of this ticking and this kind of wobble that I'm getting. Hopefully it does. But you can see there's a fundamental difference there in length, and then also the design with this recessed part in the middle. Now you're probably asking, well, why does that recessed part matter? The spring's different too. So if we look at the Z23 spring versus this Dorman one, you can see the Dorman one is quite a bit thinner widthwise, especially in this portion here. But the part where the pin slides in actually has like a clip that goes over it. So that seems to be why it's narrower in that portion. Now the factory hardware, the hardware that costs like $190 to do the two front wheels, has the same design. So I don't know. I don't know if that's something that Cadillac and Brembo had to do in particular for this car and a few others, because a lot of the Cadillac hardware is not like this for the Brembos, but for the ATS and a few other models, it is. Now, the funny thing is the AC Delco for a lot of the Brembos for the Cadillacs, you can get for 25 bucks. 25 bucks to do the full axle. But for these particular ones, the AC Delco is way more expensive. And the other ones from AC Delco look more like this. So for some reason, Brembo and AC Delco designed something that has this clip that's designed like this and this recessed part on this pin. And they're charging way, way, way more for it. I mean, it's like a 10 times markup. It's absolutely insane. So, I don't know. Hopefully this helps. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the bottom pin, we're going to feed it through the hole, get it part way in, and then we're going to put this spring clip in place and feed the pin through it. Alright, that's as far as that's going to go without a hammer. So I'm going to give it a couple taps here with the hammer. Alright, so it's seated, but it's not all the way in yet. Just trying to get it held in place. The top one's a little trickier because you need to hold the spring down while you put it in. Get it across here. Get started on the other side. Let's give it a few taps. Well, it's got a long ways to go to get all the way in there. So I'll finish hammering these in. These ones are actually being a little more difficult to get in than the PowerStop ones. So I'm a little worried about that spring clip at the back. It doesn't seem like it actually went into the caliper. It seems like it's actually just hanging out on the backside like it's about to pop off. So I don't know. I think I might knock these guys back out, or at least one of them, to take a look here. Shoot. Yeah, look at that. So that spring clip actually, right there, I don't know, hopefully you're seeing this, it pulled up off of the channel it's supposed to be in. That doesn't seem good. So that's not wanting to go in like that. I'll go ahead and knock the other one out here and see if we can't fix that. Oh, well, I didn't even have to knock that out. That just pushed right out. All right, no good. No good. Let's see if we can't get that straightened around. All right, be back. These are the ones that I just tried hammering in. These are the ones that I haven't done yet. You can see this little washer kind of compression spring here. I don't know what to call it. It's in that groove. Whereas when I hammered these ones in, it pushed it up out of that groove. So that seems to be the problem. That's preventing this thing from going in. Now I could hit it on the back with a punch, but I think if I do, I'm just going to knock this right off. So I don't know how to get that back on there. I mean, it's pretty tight. So I'm going to try again. You know, it's kind of stupid. It's probably going to mess up as well, but I'm going to try to do this again with the ones that aren't messed up. But I think I'm going to maybe pinch this a little bit so that this is a little tighter and hopefully goes in better, because you can see it's pretty loose right now. I wish I'd done more to show this before when the Z23s were on here, but you can see the pin here is actually pretty clearly visible. On the Z23s, they weren't. They were stuck back in there pretty far. Also, now that I have these on here, man, this thing doesn't budge at all. So it's very different than what it was with the Z23.
It's been about a month since I put the Dorman hardware on my Cadillac ATS. And I got to tell you, it's made a huge difference over the hardware that came with the PowerStop Z23 kit. I'm not trying to knock the Z23 brakes themselves. The rotors, the pads, they seem to work really well, fit well, and do their job. So I have no complaints with those. It was just the hardware kit that came with it. Now, I've communicated this to PowerStop, and I know another guy in one of the Cadillac forums also had the same issue and communicated that over to them as well. They've replied back to me a little bit. They actually even offered me a free brake kit once they fixed the issue, but I haven't heard anything from them since. So I don't know what's going on with that. So my recommendation at this point is, if you get the Z23 kit from PowerStop, make sure to keep your Cadillac hardware. Use that hardware if you can, because it is fundamentally different than the hardware that comes with the Z23 kit. If you don't have it, it costs an arm and a leg to get. Now, the other guy that was in the forums that was having the same problem, we were discussing this, and he said, well, I still have the Cadillac hardware, and he put it on there and fixed him up right away. So I would highly suggest keep that hardware, reuse it if you can. Now, in my case, I didn't have it, so I got this Dorman kit here. Now, it's a nice kit for the price, right? I mean, this thing was, well, I think it was less than this when I bought it, but now it's showing $16.76. You can't beat that price when it's going to cost like almost $200 to get the actual AC Delco parts from a Cadillac dealership. So I really can't complain about this price. However, where these do fall a little short here is this little stopper on the back. So that little black piece you see at the back there, and I kind of showed this to you in the video a little bit, and I wish I'd shown it more. As I was hammering that in, that piece wanted to come off the back of it. So what I ended up doing was actually taking some pliers and kind of wiggling it back down on, and then crimping it a little better to keep it in place. So if you end up needing to get this kit, it works well aside from that little piece of metal at the back. Make sure to crimp it a little bit tighter. Now, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just telling you what worked for me. So, you know, take it for what you will. But if you're having this problem with this brake kit, you don't have the factory hardware anymore, this is probably the way to go. It'll save you an arm and a leg, and works pretty well for me. Just gotta crimp that little piece of metal on the back. All right, guys. Well, if you found this helpful, please hit that thumbs up. It means a lot to me. If you got any questions, comments, ran into this or anything, put that down in the comment section. I'd love to read it. Love to talk to you about it. If you'd like to come back and see the other stuff that I have coming, hit the subscribe. Now, again, I don't normally do car videos. This is kind of one of those things, though, where I'm learning as I go and trying to figure some of this stuff out. And if it's not out there, not documented, I want to put it out there to help people that might come in the same situation that I'm in. Well, on a side note, a little more personal note here, I suppose. If you too are somebody that likes to learn as you go, I got a buddy named Mike who actually started up a YouTube channel called LAYGo Land. Learn as you go land, right? So LAYGo Land, LAYGO. He's documenting all kinds of this stuff as he's going along and doing it. So in this video here, he was actually building an electric fireplace. So just one of those things where he likes to show what he's learning to maybe help out other people that might be doing the same thing. And as you can see here, he's got a little helper that likes to show up in his videos, just like I do in mine. So thought that was kind of neat. But at any rate, stop on by, check him out if you want to see some of the antics that he's getting up to and the things that he's trying to do. He's covering the gamut over there. So, all right, well, thank you so much again for watching. I hope you have a great day.